Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
The following program are pre-recorded.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town, and of course, it is Friday morning. That means we talked to Tom Briggle, owner of the Bismarck Bobcats. Tom, good weekend last weekend.
It was a great weekend in really a lot of ways, but it was we got 2 wins out of the deal, so that was fun. And Saturday's game in particular was fun, I think, for the fans.
Well, Saturday in particular, of course, Brave the Shave, and then a really good game. I mean, that was some good hockey on both ends, and 3-4 with a win over St. Cloud, the Bobcats victorious. But again, it was just a great game.
Yeah, it had everything, that particularly, like I said, for fans. I said to Lane, well, maybe it wasn't to script, but the fans sure as hell had a good time. They had the Brave the Shave kids before, and that was, special, of course. But then the hockey itself, we go up 3-0. St. Cloud, much like Aberdeen, they're fighting so hard for the last playoff spot, so they didn't quit. Start the third period with a fight. They're trying to change the momentum. One of their better players, and Kopecky kind of took him out, which was good. And but they scored 3 goals to tie it up, only for us to come back and win it in overtime. So the fans, the fans had a great night.
I'm always a fan of bonus hockey, but I just, that fight at the beginning of the third period, and it did change momentum. And you know what? I ran into Lane earlier this week, and we were getting gas, and I was talking to him about the teachable moments and stuff. He's like, yeah, but you got to be careful on where you're trying to pick those. Okay, so this was a big teachable moment for the team. It's like you gave up a lead. You gave up a sizable lead in the third period, and then that takes some grit and some determination to dig out of that hole, and they did it. So, yeah, teachable moment. We don't want to see
No, they did
games.
for sure, and of course, it could be, and it always has been in our division, teams don't quit.
No.
Excuse me, sorry. Teams simply don't quit in our league, and I think you need to play the 60 minutes. You hear Lane talking about all the time, but the fact of the matter is hockey games go in ebbs and flows, and we were winning on the scoreboard, but the shots were even. St. Cloud was playing hard; they're playing well, and like I said, they come back and tie it in the third, and everyone's like, "Oh my God!" But then again, the 3-on-3 overtime for Evan Hunter to pop it away, the fans just went ballistic, and it was just another great night. I don't want to sound wrong, but it's been so fun at the VFW. Our barn is just the hockey, the fun. It's just the fans have been terrific.
Well, and they get a little extra with Brave the Shave. Great event, great giving back to the community, and that's what the Bobcats really are good at, is being part of and giving back to the community. Brave the Shave, just another example of it on Saturday night. All right, let's fast forward to what's coming up this weekend. You mentioned Aberdeen. They're still fighting, and I'm guessing it's Aberdeen. If you're going to go into this weekend and not know it's going to be a little chippy, you're probably mistaken.
Yeah, they're going to do whatever it takes to win, and so I think we beat them. I think this year 7 out of 8. But the eighth game that they beat us was a few Saturdays ago, and they played a game that they have to play to beat us. And it's not necessarily the prettiest game, but it's a gritty game and it's a chippy game and just all those kinds of things. But we're a better team than they are, so they have to figure out a way to win, and especially this weekend because I think they're tied for third or fourth. There's 3 teams within 1 point. Surprise, surprise in our division, fighting for playoff spots. So they're going to be giving it everything they have. And, of course, we wanted to be the spoiler and shut them out, right? And so it's going to be a fun weekend of hockey. There's no doubt about that, and it's going to be intense. And as for our point of view, we're still we have 4 games with Minot left. We're 7 points down. So let's say it's a long shot, but if both teams were to win out, or if Minot were to lose this weekend and we were to win out or win all but one, we can still take the first place spot. So it's a long shot, but stranger things have happened too.
All right, so how does this set up as we go down the stretch? Because you mentioned the games we've got with Minot and wrapping up the regular season with them, bang, bang, bang. What are we looking at right now realistically? Are we locked into that number 2 spot and with the shot of getting to Minot? Or, I'm trying to get into the head of what's the best scenario to get into the playoffs, because you want a little momentum. You want to be hot going into the playoffs. Realistically, where's the best place to be?
Well, I think that, of course, everyone wants to be in first place because you guarantee home ice throughout the playoffs. But like you and I talked a little bit maybe last week, if we finish second, that's just fine. Because, we'll play the third place team, which in theory, in normal situation, would be the better of the 2 other teams. But this year, they're all the same. Like Aberdeen, Austin, and St. Cloud, they're all the same. They're good teams. So it doesn't really matter who we play of those 3. And then if we don't get first place and say Minot has home ice throughout the playoffs, and if we're good enough and lucky enough to get through the first round and play Minot, then we'll run up there for 2, and, we've played them even up there. And then we'd come back to our barn for 2. So we could, if we could split even in Minot or win 2, which would be a beautiful thing, and then come back and win the division championship on our home ice, like that would be a treat.
All right. So, of course, Bobcats fans, best fans in the world, travel a little bit. So as you're setting up for the playoffs, looking at some of these teams where fans have an opportunity to do a little traveling as well, and get that home ice. Also, you always give something back to the fans, Tom. What's coming up this weekend?
I have to tell you, to be honest, I've been, as I mentioned to you, down in Florida with my grandkids fishing. So Feldy would have those answers. But I'm a little selfish this week. I haven't missed a Brave the Shave game in 20 years, or 15 that's been in existence. But this year, our spring breaks for the first time ever were the same. And I'm more focused on bass fishing and Epcot Center. And yesterday we were on Clearwater Beach. So show up, you'll have a good time for sure. I'm sure of that, whatever the plan is.
Always a good time at the Bismarck Bobcats, VFW Arena. And, of course, if you want tickets, and as we're getting down the stretch, those tickets are getting tighter and tighter, go to BismarckBobcats.com. If you haven't done so, download the Bobcats app. Tom, have a great rest of your weekend with your grandkids.
Yeah, I am. And, of course, I'll be still tuned into the game. And the thing about this weekend, it's Easter weekend, of course. So if you got in-laws, if the fans have in-laws coming in and they want to get them the hell out of the house, send them to the game. And if you want to have fun and can sit by them, you can come too. But it's a great thing to show, all the visitors, all your company, come up to a game. They will just love it.
BismarckBobcats.com, of course, best show in town, best show on ice. Bismarck Bobcats always putting on a good show. Tom, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, and happy Easter to all the listeners, and we'll see you soon.
Happy Easter. Tom Briggle, owner of the Bismarck Bobcats on Super Talk 1270, your home of the Bobcats, home and away. Catch all the action right here on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bach, and this is Talk of the Town. And checking in with Luke Schaefer, ND Country Fest. You might know him best as. Great lineup again this year. ND Country Fest coming up sooner than we think out at New Salem in the shadow of New Salem Sioux. Luke, you got a great show lined up, and there's still an artist or two you might be adding, right?
Steve, you just never know what's up our sleeve. But I can tell you right now, it's the biggest lineup we have ever had at the festival. And we are excited 100% about the summer because things are going really great and really crazy for us. Our Frontier Campground is going to be the biggest it's ever been. We have so many folks coming out and camping with us and enjoying that festival for 4 days straight. We're excited, and yeah, it's literally right around the corner. As you know, as soon as spring hits, here we are. Here comes July.
Well, it's kind of like spring's here already, so we're getting a little anxious. Yeah. And, this is the preeminent camping event in North Dakota for a concert venue, and it is so cool to have this in our backyard right here in the Bismarck Mandan area over in New Salem. But the camping and this festival is just growing and growing and growing. There's some deadlines coming up that people really need to be aware about because the camping and some of the space you might want to be utilizing, that fills up fast.
It does. It fills up fast. And the one thing, we do have price increases. We have price increases every month leading up to the show. So you want to save the money, get in early, grab your tickets, tell everybody that is going to come with you. Set that date and hook up the camper in July and come out. And there's things that we talk about at the festival, and we believe 100% in the experience, and that's what it's about. It's the experience of our guests. And we add experiences every single year, which everybody will see who has been with us for 6 years. You'll see things change. You'll see things different. And we want to make sure that your experience is great and what we can add to it to make it better and better every single year. But, take a look. We have our ND Country Fest app. There's things that update you, and that's where everybody really wants to get the inside info. And sooner than later, you can download the ND Country Fest app. And then obviously you can track us on our socials and then also on our website at ndcountryfest.com.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the app a little bit because it's really an interactive app. It's got so many features and there's so much information there, and you can do so many things with it. That was really kind of a game changer because I've watched this grow over the last 6 years. Every year it's gotten bigger and better, and I've said to myself, it's like, God, this is awesome. This is perfect. Do you ever have fear of getting too big? Because, and it's a legitimate question because I've seen festivals that have gotten really, really big, and they've gotten away from their core mission because your core mission is how do you treat the guests the best and make sure that they have a good time. And sometimes I've seen other festivals that they've gotten away from that mission. That's really, you guys are focusing on that like laser focus, aren't you?
We are 100%. And getting too big, we have a number in mind what our daily might be, what it would be where we want to make sure that we don't lose that experience and lose. We go off of experience, we go off of safety, and we go off of cleanliness. So that's one thing that we believe in our core values because everybody wants to go and feel safe there. When somebody comes to me, it's a friend of mine, and says, hey, I don't mind my 16, 17-year-old being out there because I'm out there too, but yet I feel so safe, and I feel safe enough for him or her to be out there at your facility. And then clean. Nobody wants to go and see porta potties overflowing. We strongly make sure that everything is clean and neat. And what we make sure, too, is when we leave every day, we reset it so everything's clean, from the grounds to the garbages, and we really focus on that. And that's one thing we never want to get away from those core values and experience, because you're right. Some will be like, oh, we're going to put 50,000 people a day, and we're going to do this and do this, but then the experience totally lax, and they lose those values. But yeah, we're right about, we feel that we'll probably end at like that 20,000, 25,000 a day when we hit that number. And then that's where we will definitely make sure that experience for every single one of those people is great, fun, safe, and clean.
Yeah, the clean part's the important part too, because, I go out there and I go, at the end of 3 days, and you're like, wait a minute, how many people were out here? And the grounds look great. You guys do a lot of work on the front side to make sure the grounds, because, it wasn't last year, big festival, and the mud and the people that got trapped at a festival ground because the infrastructure wasn't there. That's someplace you guys put a lot of emphasis on, and a lot of work goes in ahead of time that I don't think people realize is you got to make sure that you have facilities that can support, something as simple as a tour bus coming in. And I've been at the Fargo Fairgrounds in West Fargo where they've had to go find a farmer with a tractor to pull a tour bus out because the tour bus was stuck because it rained. You guys make sure all of the infrastructure that goes in on the front side of it, because that's what pays dividends during the festival.
Yeah, absolutely. Every year we're making improvements to that facility because you're right, it's getting bigger. We have, instead of 20 tour buses, now we have 30. And don't get me wrong, we've been in that experience too where it was like, I'll tell you a quick story. It was funny. It was Chris Jansen's bus driver, and it was they were rolling in, but they rolled in at 5 a.m. because he was coming from somewhere in Iowa a couple of years ago. And he called our stage manager and said, "Hey, where's this place at?" Excuse me. And our tour manager, you can't miss it. It's right underneath the cow. It's the fairground. The guy literally went up to the cow, and he's like, and then got stuck because it was raining that morning.
Oh no.
We got to go get the tractor, and we're like, "Hey, you drove right by us."
When I said under the cow, I meant in the shadow of the cow.
Right.
Although they had a hell of a view from
the guy was driving probably all night.
Yeah, great view though, watching the sunrise up at New Salem Sioux. So I there's an upside to that, right?
Yeah, but he was a good guy. We gave him some grief the whole weekend, while he was there. But it was great. But you're right. There's a lot of things in planning. We plan all year round for this. This is not a 1 month thing. We have a staff. We have 32 managers that are seasonal. We have 6 full-time people, and we're on logistics constantly and talking with the city and talking with the fairgrounds and how we can improve and what we can do to improve the fairgrounds to make it easier, not only for us, but all the events then that come through there on the annual basis. But you're right. I mean, it's the bigger it gets, the more, the more gravel you need, the more pavement you need and whatnot. But we definitely put our time and energy into making sure, like I said, the experience, we talked about the guests, but we also truly believe in a great experience for our artists that come there. We want to make it so easy for them so they come in and be like, man, that was awesome. That was great. And they're on to their next show after they're done with us. Now, they talk. I'll tell you another quick, go ahead.
They talk. So when you've got a top shelf artist that's telling his buddies, going, that's a great place to play. They treated us right. The fans were incredible. Then guess what? Their friends, the other top shelf artists, they want to come too.
Yeah. Here's another good story for you. It's, and they travel. I mean, everybody knows, well, I'll just tell you, say they perform at our place on Friday, but they probably perform more than likely somewhere on Wednesday, Thursday, come to us Friday, then they're heading out again to go 6 hours somewhere else on Saturday. But a tour manager, I'll tell you, it was Dustin Lynch's. He's like, hey, Dustin's on a long stretch here. This is a few years ago, too. And he probably won't be around the venue much. He'll do some meet and greets and things, but he'll probably stay on the bus most of the day, and then, whatever. And we're like, yeah, sounds great. And it's busy, right, for us in those days. And I come walking into our offices at a meeting, and I walk into my offices, and I'm talking to our assistant general manager, and she's like, da-da-da-da. And all of a sudden, this guy could just stand in my way. And I was like, because I had to get some things done, right? And I'm like, whatever. The guy, his back was to me. And then I said, hey, can you move? Can you move? I got to talk to her. I pushed him. I didn't push him. I just gently tapped him over and said, hey, can you move, man? I need to talk to her. And he looked and he was like, yeah, sure. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, Dustin, what are you doing? He's like, oh, hey, man. It was Dustin Lynch standing there. And then he enjoyed himself the whole day. He was in and out of our offices. We were, talking it up. And then he was everywhere and just enjoyed himself. He goes, man, this is so relaxing for us and me. He goes, it feels like a family around here. He goes, do you mind if I, hang out? And we're like, yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for.
Hey, if you want, I'll give you something to do. We're busy. But
yeah. Hey, can you run these over to?
Either that or go fishing.
Funny.
You could have sent them fishing, but.
That's right. That's right.
ND Country Fest coming up sooner than we think. Don't forget, there's those dates that the price goes up. You want to get in on the camping. You want to get in on those lower ticket prices. All great ways to do that. ND Country Fest, the app. I love the app. Luke, how else do people track you down?
You can hit us on our website, ndcountryfest.com. Hit those tickets, and they'll all load up. This is our last month. You got until the end of March to use our payment plan. So you can go ahead and hit reserve on those tickets, and you can do 3 payments, and you're good to go. You can also obviously track us on our socials, obviously track us on all of our radio partners and our stations and on the tour. But also, like I said, the app's the best because it has everything up to date and it's right in your hand and right there. The one thing, too, I'll say with our lineup from our Dirk Bentley, our Clint Black, our Riley Green, our Michael Ray, a lot of our artists have a ton of more new material coming out. They're everywhere on the award shows. They're everywhere on CMT, to radio, to Spotify, and they're just blowing up, and we can't be more happy than we ever have been, even with our artists that have things going on all year already, and it's great.
ND Country Fest coming up sooner than you think. Check it out on the app. Check it out on the website. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Talk lineup is on Super Talk 1270. Check out the program schedule at supertalk1270.com and on the free Super Talk 1270 app. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, I'm Steve Bakken, and this is Talk of the Town. And one of the talks around town, Gaia Home. If you're not familiar with it, I'm going to introduce you to you again. Kylie Harmon, Executive Director for Gaia Home, joining us. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
So, big news. You officially have a home now.
Yes, Gaia Home has its home. We have acquired 8.93 beautiful acres up in the Silver Ranch 4th Edition. So excited. It's just the beautiful space that will allow us to build out our neighborhood, that will provide a new option that currently doesn't exist for the state in end-of-life care.
The key in that statement is the neighborhood in that community, that micro community that you're building. And we're going to get into the details of that. But talk a little bit about the land acquisition. A lot of great community partners, foundational partners. A lot came into, this is a great mission. Let's try to help this.
Exactly. So Chad Wachter, the developer for the Silver Ranch area, he has just been tremendously involved with Gaia Home since really its inception back in 2019 when it was just starting to be an idea with an advisory group of people. And him, along with Jeff Ubel and Ubel Design Group, and helping us throughout the different iterations as to how the neighborhood could expand and look so that we could find the right location. And then along with Swenson Hagen as well. So it's those three together really helped us put together beautiful lots an idea as to how Gaia Home could build out through all of its 3 phases, helped us through the platting process and the zoning process, and we officially acquired our land, and so excited now because that's really going to help us as we continue to go forward through our fundraising activities so that we can eventually break ground and start offering this service.
So you've been fundraising. That's part of being able to acquire the land as well. So whether it's banking partners or, some foundational grants came into play here as well.
Yes. So we were so fortunate. Last year, the Tom and Frances Leach Foundation did award Gaia Home a $250,000 grant. And my understanding is there were 2 $250,000 grants during last year's grant funding cycle, and we were one of the recipients. And we were incredibly excited about that because you can go anywhere in central, western North Dakota and pick out the different areas that have been helped by the Leach Foundation. They have really helped build up many different
and they're very
communities.
Discerning.
They take their time. They take their time,
go through the process, and make sure that it's the right project for the right reasons.
Exactly.
And if you have a project that they get behind, you have a good project.
Exactly, and that was one of the reasons why we were so excited to receive it, because it really puts a feather in our cap. Because when people see that, exactly,
it's a stamp of approval.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
So. You got that grant. You've got the land now. A lot of great community partners. From the fundraising perspective, what's next? Because you mentioned the 3 phases. Land acquisition is part of phase 1.
Well, part of phase 1, yep. So phase 1 for Gaia Home is building 6 residential units, homes that families can move into to receive hospice services and just have 24-hour end-of-life care there. So really then the families don't have to take on the caregiver role. They can just be family during that time. And
this is that 24/7 care.
24/7 care with a very high hands, high touch. Many caregivers to few patients. So just very high hands, high touch. And so phase 1 is the 6 residential units with a community building. Phase 2 could be an addition to the main building that has more suites. So for maybe people who don't need a full 1,400 square foot home, they could have the services in more of a suite-like setting. And then phase 3 could potentially be more residential units. And so right now we are in the process of a $12 million fundraising campaign. Through the end of last year, we had secured $6.65 million halfway there in pledges and commitments. And that's why so excited about the land, because we've been visiting with people, and the one question you always get is, where's it going to be? And now we can officially say Gaia Home has found its home in the Silver Ranch 4th edition.
And once you get the land, that's another step. So, fundraising's hard. And I've worked in that space a lot myself for different projects. Fundraising is difficult. When you have something tangible, fundraising gets a little easier.
And that's exactly.
And the land is now tangible.
Exactly. And that's why we're really excited, because this year, our hope is that we would be able to raise another 4.2 to 5.3 before breaking ground. And so if we could raise 4.2 this year, that really would put us in that position to potentially break ground this coming spring 2025 or summer of 2025, so we could be operational with the first phase by 2026 and really start helping families who currently don't have a homey option when in-home hospice care can't work for them.
What scenarios are those? Actually, let's get back to that in the next segment. But from the fundraising, so what do you need now? Just to finish up the fundraising side of it. So you're looking at about $6 million. You want to get 4 this year. What's the timeline for the fundraising and then actually getting a shovel in the ground?
We would love to have another $4.2 million by the end of this year, so then we can be putting shovel in the ground in 2025.
So next spring.
So next spring, next summer. And again, that's why if people really support this project and want to see it come to fruition, I would say please reach out, look at our website at thegaiahome.org and look at our wonderful group of leadership that we have. There is such a huge cross segment between Bismarck, Mandan, and quite frankly, the state of North Dakota to help us get this option going, and reach out to those individuals to say, hey, I would like to help make a gift. I would like to see this come to fruition. Reach out to me, Kylie Harmon, because if we could raise that 4.2 by the end of this year, we could potentially really break ground next fall or next year.
So one of the things too, like I said, the tangible side of things, and one of the great ways to do that is taking a look at the pictures and seeing what the design looks like. You've got that now up on the website.
We do. Our website just went through an update, and you can go on there and you can see what Gaia Home could potentially be when it's fully built out in all 3 phases. And so it will really just be a beautiful place that provides peace and tranquility for the families as they're going through that end-of-life journey with a loved one.
So talk about choosing the land and getting that land piece, because we mentioned building that community that the Gaia Home concept is going to wind up being with the 3 phases and building out. It's a little micro community. Having that fit into what is going to be a community in Silver Ranch, rather important.
Very much so. I mean, the Silver Ranch area is just absolutely beautiful. It has so many homes right now. There's a beautiful Silver Ranch Elementary School up there. There's gorgeous parks, and that whole area that is part of Silver Ranch 3rd will connect and flow up into the Silver Ranch 4th edition. So when you see the Gaia Home on the website and what it could potentially look like, you'll see that there's a big green space to the right of Gaia Home, and that's just going to be another empty space for families to walk through. Just south of that will be a pond area, and there's going to be a walking path that's going through the area. So it just really helps. It's connected to what is already a beautiful neighborhood, and then we're providing, like you said, a little sub-community within there that's dedicated to the end of life.
When we come back from the break, I want to talk about the mission of Gaia Home and how it fits into the fabric of healthcare and end-of-life healthcare. This is Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Kylie Harmon from Gaia Home. Once again, the website?
thegaiahome.org.
And it's GAIA.
Yes.
This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Club.
Super Talk.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car-selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Kylie Harmon, Executive Director with Gaia Home. And I want to talk a little bit about the mission and the mission for Gaia Home. So a lot of your conversations go back to 2019. This was kind of a thought process for you before that. You really were like, because you were in the healthcare, you worked with the CHI Foundation, and you were like, something's missing.
Yeah, so this really, I mean, the conversation really does go back to about 2013, when at that time, like you said, I was at St. Alexis. I was running the foundation there, and Gary Miller, the CEO, said we need to look at doing a place like this. And there was a small group of us, myself, Julie Jeske, and Tammy Thayer, who was the hospice director at St. A's, started to research what are these facilities, what do the operational models look like, and how do you get that going? At that time, I went to Terry Rockstead because I knew he was very, very passionate about end-of-life care, and he was the former owner of all the Dan's supermarkets, which are now Family Fare. And he said, I'm all in with what you guys need. It just didn't come to fruition at that time, but it was a conversation that continued to happen throughout the years. And then in 2020, 2019, a lot of research was done, and an advisory group of people came together of Chad Wachter, Terry Rockstead, Denise Cambites, RJ Pathroff, and Sue Ann Olson. We all came, and myself, and we all came together and really said, how do we do this? What do we do? What are the steps we need to take to get this going?
Well, and it clicked with me because I was going through this
And then,
with my father passing away, and it was in a position where hospice didn't, because it's not that 24-hour care, and his wife couldn't manage him at home anymore, but really wasn't a candidate for a nursing home. There were people that fall in the crack. Now, Washington State had a mechanism in place for that type of care. That was where you and I had
that
really
conversation.
got into this conversation. I'm like,
back in 2020.
there's a model.
Yep.
Here's this. How do I help? And
Yes.
I'm all in because I went through it. And there's a lot of people that go through this.
Yes. Very, very much so. I mean, right now for people when in-home hospice care isn't an option, they're at this point in time, there is not a place in North Dakota that's dedicated to end-of-life care in a real homey setting. And that's the gap we will fill.
Well, because the end-of-life care, you want somebody in that comfort, that home setting.
Yep.
That's why hospice exists, but hospice doesn't provide the 24-hour care. That's not their mission. They do a great job. They do an incredible mission, but there's a gap between that and then if somebody has to go into a nursing home for their end of life, which is now you're in that anesthetic hospital type setting, which isn't that home
homey feeling. And so that's why.
So there's a gap.
There's a gap.
Where this service ends and that service begins, there's a void. And that's the space Gaia Home is looking to fill.
And that's exactly right. So for people who cannot put together the 24-hour care that's required for their loved one to be on hospice, if it's just too hard for them to provide that care, if they live outside of a hospice service area, there are 28 counties in western North Dakota, and I believe 4 of them have currently no hospice services. For people who, most people will want to start hospice in their home, but it gets to a point where the disease progression is just too difficult for the family to provide the care. And then there are people who just do not want to have that final passage in their home because it can be too traumatic for the family members who still have to live there. And so that's where Gaia Home will come in and fill that void so families can move into the residential units. Their loved one can receive the 24-hour dedicated hospice end-of-life care with wonderful staff that's their heart and soul, what they do. And then the families, they can just be family with their loved one during that final time, really focus on making lasting memories versus dealing with the difficult caretaking tasks.
I know where I came into this picture and how this has progressed because you filled me in a lot of it, but go back to 2013 when you were first having those conversations. And did you think that where you're at personally with your involvement of this, did you ever have any thought that that's my life mission? That is my passion.
Yeah.
And because the big thing is when you get passionate about something, you're able to follow your passion, you have better outcomes. There's just something about a project that if it's a passion rather than, hey, I'm just doing a job.
Yeah.
And I've watched you grow into this space. And it's been amazing to watch. And thank you so much for what you do. But did you ever envision that's where you'd wind up, or this is where you were going? And it's your life mission. It's your passion.
Along the way, there's definitely all of those God moments that as time progresses, you reflect on. And when 2013 first, what is this, and starting to look and understanding it really helped connect me back to the hospice experience that I always go back to, which was with my grandfather. I was 9 at the time, and we lived at the Grand Forks Air Force Base. My grandma and grandpa were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I could just see on my mom how hard it was for her to not be able to be there all the time helping my grandmother with my grandfather's care. And I didn't understand it at the time because I was, 9. I didn't know what this all meant. And then she was able to be there that last week of care. And
you may have not understood it, but it stuck with you.
Oh, it stuck. It stuck with me because I'll never forget then too, walking into the home right before my grandfather passed, and his hospital bed was in his den, and the den is where he always watched his Western movies, and he would always sleep on the floor for whatever reason. He didn't sleep in a bed. He liked to sleep on a floor.
Well, it's part of the Western theme.
Exactly. He would roll out a full mattress and sleep on the floor. And when I first walked in, there was that white bed, and he was a ghost, and that stuck with me. And then seeing my mom and my grandma and the relief that was on their face, because that hard part was done with the care, and they knew he was in a better place. But it was just, I don't know how, but it stuck with me. And then being an only child and forecasting into the future, what is that going to be like when it's my parents? I don't have the ability to provide the care. That's just not me. I want to be their daughter at that time. And so that's why this is so important, because that's just one story. And there are so many people that can share that story, or they have their own story as to how Gaia Home could really help them have a better end of life journey where they can just be the family.
Yeah. And it's kind of like going back to think about the cancer center and how many people have been affected by cancer or know somebody, whether directly, indirectly, somebody. Same story. And that's why the mission of Gaia Home is so important, because I don't know anybody that either has not, will not, gone through that same scenario in some capacity. It's inevitable. It's inevitable,
and it's a conversation people don't like to talk about, but Gaia Home will be that beacon that will help drive forth that end-of-life conversation to help people have more options, more information, more choices, so that they can choose the best option for them.
Kylie Harmon, Executive Director with Gaia Home, you keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And every step of the way, keep our listeners informed of what's going on, because it's getting exciting.
It is. It's getting exciting. We're getting closer.
Spring of 25.
We're getting close.
Looking forward to that date. Once again, what's the website if people want to go take a look and or donate or get involved in some capacity?
Yep, it's thegaiahome.org, and that's GAIA. So thegaiahome.org. And if you would like to make a donation, please reach out to me or one of our Gaia Home leadership members. We will be more than happy to assist you.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome to March 28th on the National Day calendar. Today, we're taking a delightful culinary journey through cultures and rediscovering a crunchy vegetable with storied roots.
Food on a stick holds a fascinating place in global culinary traditions. From the kebabs of the Middle East to corn dogs at American fairs and satay in Southeast Asia, skewered food has been part of our eating habits for centuries. The oldest evidence of barbecue, including skewered meat, dates back nearly 300,000 years. Although the format is simple, it offers a unique blend of convenience, fun, and creativity. On Something on a Stick Day, we celebrate this versatile culinary practice that transcends borders and brings us together around the grill, the food stall, or the dining table.
I feel guilty coming here every Sunday and never actually buying anything.
Why? We're following the rules. If it has a toothpick in it, it's free.
We were out filming Destination Celebration episode. It was a scone.
Okay.
And they ended up with a ribeye, a full ribeye on a stick.
No way. Are you serious?
People in the restaurant were like, what are they doing over there? That was too funny as a nod on a steak, It's too funny.
Oh, I totally have to see this.
Yes, you do. Moving from skewers to stocks, we turn to the world of celery. Celery might seem like a basic vegetable, but it's been revered throughout history. It was found in the tomb of Tutankhamun, an ancient Egyptian pharaoh, and was used in Roman and Greek ceremonial crowns. Today, we appreciate celery for its nutritional benefits, crisp texture, and the subtle flavor it adds to dishes. For National Celery Month, we're shining a spotlight on this ancient vegetable that deserves a bit more recognition for its long-standing role in our diets and cultures.
I don't think I've ever had celery by itself.
What?
I think I've only had it in like food, like soup or dressing.
So you've never just like taken some peanut butter and some raisins, it's called ants on a log, and tried it that way?
Nope.
It's so crunchy. I love it.
It sounds like you love it.
Actually, one of my favorite things. I need to eat some more celery. It's actually good for you.
Well, I'm about to go try ants on a log.
Okay.
I'm Little A. Johnson.
I'm Marlo Henderson.
Thank you for joining us as we celebrate every day on Destination Celebration.
Until next time, keep celebrating.
Are you sure you're getting the biggest possible refund for your small business? I'm Daria Albinger with today's tax tip. If you own a small business, we know your margins can be tight. With rent on the rise and the cost of goods soaring, the IRS has a few ways to put money back into your bank account.
There are a few tax credits that lots of small businesses don't take. One of them is called the Work Opportunity Credit, and it incentivizes companies to hire employees from underserved populations like veterans, ex-felons, food stamp recipients.
ABC's business correspondent Alexis Christoforou says do your research because you might already be missing out.
If your business pays at least 50% of employees' health insurance premiums, you can oftentimes qualify for a tax credit, and there are also small business tax credits targeting businesses that offer workers family medical leave and help paying for childcare expenses. So it does pay to seek these out.
For more information, visit irs.gov. With today's tax tip, Daria Albinger, ABC News.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
NBA action with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Hear the games live on Super Talk 1270.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bach, and joining us on the program, Charles Tuttle. And Charles, we're going to talk a little about what's going on election cycle. Things are really starting to heat up. Charles, thanks for coming on, my friend.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning.
Okay, so we have got, I kind of want to focus on the governor's race because it's starting to get a little interesting. We've got Congressman Kelly Armstrong, who is running for the Republican nomination. We've got Michael Coachman. We've got who's running as an independent. We've got Tammy Miller, the lieutenant governor, who's running for the Republican nomination. Both of those, by the way, that are running for the Republican nomination are kind of bypassing the convention, they'll be there, I guess, but they're going to the primary. It's all about the primary for them. So it's an interesting...
Now you're referring to Tammy Miller and Coach, right?
What? Yeah. I mean, Kelly's going...
I think the problem with Coach is money more than anything. So that's
right.
The problem with the Republican pay-to-play party. It doesn't allow for the patriot grassroots people to have the ability to be nominated from the floor, get your 2 endorsing speeches, and get your 10 district chairs to sign off. That's the normal thing. You can do that.
But that's changing a little bit. That landscape of the convention is changing a little bit because I think there is more space for the grassroots and for more people to speak up. But is the convention relevant when you've got a bunch of candidates that are going, kind of like Governor Burgum did in 2016. He showed up, and I don't think the convention should have let him speak because he wasn't there for the convention. He was there to tell everybody, make sure you vote for me at the primary. Well, if you're not going to be part of the convention, I don't think you should have an opportunity to speak, but that's me. But I think with the grassroots, that is starting to grow a little bit where you do get that opportunity to speak up a little bit more and maybe have a little bit of a different or better vetting of candidates, so it's not just necessarily about the money. And I think that's a good, healthy thing, isn't it?
Well, let me explain something that should be done. It depends on whether the grassroots are willing to take control of the convention. And they can actually, let's take Tammy Miller. I had a one-on-one conversation with her at the Winter Show a couple Sundays ago. And, it's obvious that she gave $1,000 to Amy Klobuchar, one of the most liberal Democrat senators in Minnesota. And why would you give $1,000 to someone if you're a conservative? That's absurd. So she's obviously a Democrat. And not only that, she's not willing to go to the convention. And her statement to some friends of mine in Fargo at the Politics and Plate was, well, they cheated at the convention. They what? Who cheats at the convention? You mean Hovind with 187 people on the 2 buses? No. The reality is the convention, if they're smart, and I've been telling district chairs this, we can have motions from the floor to censure her for not coming, for giving money to a Democrat like that. And then what we can do is have a vote. That would only take a simple majority. And then we could have a vote to remove her from the party. She's not willing to ask the North Dakota Republican delegation for her support. Now, I understand if someone goes to the convention and loses and still goes to the primary, but someone who's not even willing to go and ask the Republicans for their support, to me, tells me that that person's not a Republican. And the Republican Party, a private organization, should have the right to remove them from the party.
So I want to take a little aside here because you had an opportunity to speak with Tammy Miller one-on-one, the lieutenant governor who's running for governor. And what else came out of that conversation?
Well, she obviously supports the carbon capture. And I said, you're on the wrong side. It's not the side of the people. This is a private enterprise. This is for private profit. It has nothing to do with the benefit of North Dakota. And you've got people that are just deceiving now, trying to make this like it's oil recovery, it's a friend of agriculture, and they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars. This is not what a Republican would do. And I had that conversation with her. And, she's obviously on that side, and she's gonna be pushing. I believe this election is about that. And I told Kelly's side, I've had conversations with Kelly, and anyone who knows me and knows Kelly knows that we don't agree on a lot of things. But I'm going to support Kelly over her simply because she's on the Bill Gates side of destruction of North Dakota. I would hope that Kelly will protect the people of North Dakota and start acting more towards our benefit rather than, these carpetbaggers coming into our state just to dump their waste and collect tax dollars.
Well, Charles, and my fear with Tammy Miller is kind of like, Biden is an extension of Obama, so it's Obama's third term. Tammy Miller would be an extension of Governor Burgum, and it would be another term for Governor Burgum. And we cannot continue down that road as a state and remain profitable and independent. It's not going to happen. So I've got a lot of reservations there.
She's Doug Burgum on steroids, Steve. Okay?
Wow, that's a scary statement. So, all right, Charles, I want to get into the ad side of things a little bit because it's starting to heat up with Kelly Armstrong and Tammy Miller specifically. Now you're starting to get attack ads, which seem like they're a little early in this race. And when you're coming out and throwing the attack ads, and Tammy Miller's on the defensive because now she's spending money on ads to defend attack ads rather than ignoring them, going, hey, here's my platform and here's what I'm speaking about. I think what happens in attack ads a lot is the voter loses because you wind up getting so much emphasis put on a candidate defending themselves instead of, okay, what are you standing for? So I'm not always the biggest fan of attack ads, but it's kind of interesting politically how this is starting to unfold right now.
Well, and that's, it's going to get messy.
It's going to get messy, yeah.
The problem is they kind of are in the same pond, and Kelly's always shown that he's on the oil side, not the people side, and that's something Kelly's going to have to change. And he's going to have to be able to separate himself from Tammy Miller.
But I think the difference with Kelly is where Kelly stands, and if I don't agree with somebody politically or as long as I know where they stand, I can work around that. I can manage that. I can curtail some expectations. You're right. I think Kelly has to show that he works for the people a little bit more, but I know where Kelly stands. I know if Kelly says something, I can trust his word. I also know Kelly's fiscally is a considerable conservative when it comes to spending money. And one of the biggest things I've thrown out there is we have grown government to the point that is unsustainable, and I don't see that changing under Tammy Miller's watch.
Well, and I'm worried about that with Kelly, too, because is he going to be in control? Does he have the machine that Burgum has? We got a legislature that outspent the governor. So then gave the people nothing. What, a $500 property tax break next year? It's I don't know. Kelly, does he support abolishing the property tax? Does he support the election integrity? Those are questions that Kelly's going to have to come out and answer. I know where Tammy stands on those things, and she's on Burgum's side, and obviously she won't support any of that. They think the income tax, for some reason, and income tax, it really only affects a small percentage of people in North Dakota, and a lot of them are even out-of-staters.
Charles, you mentioned the election integrity, and we're up against a break, but I want to come back and talk about election integrity when we come back. This is Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken. We're talking with Charles Tuttle on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
With everything you have on your plate, earning your degree online seems impossible. But at Grand Canyon University, we specialize in helping you fit a master's degree in business into your busy day. Your graduation team, led by your own GCU counselor, provides you with the personal support you need to succeed. Achieve your goals with a plan and team behind you. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Charles Tuttle, talking a little bit of election integrity. So there's some things going on right now with an initiated measure for election integrity, and I can't think of anything that's more important in the United States, in North Dakota, locally. Election integrity, if you can't bank on the validity of a vote, we're in a lot of trouble as a country. We've got an initiated measure moving forward. Where are things at with that, Charles?
Well, just to let everybody know, I helped to write this, so I'm pretty biased by it. What it does, it takes us back to where we always were. It brings the 398 precincts back so that everyone has a close place to go vote in person. Like, for instance, in Williston, they can only vote in 2 places in Williston, so they may have to come 50 miles to go vote. Where if you want to vote in the school board or school bond issue in Williston, they have 4 places to vote. They have more places to vote for a school bond than you do in the regular general election. So this is to take that back to pre-COVID.
Well, and Charles,
getting rid of the machines.
And Charles, I want to throw this out there too, because a lot of that got screwed up by Governor Burgum during COVID. It was an opportunity to shrink the voting opportunities, and I don't agree with that. I mean,
well, they want to push you to mail-in ballots.
Yeah, and that's not. When there's mail-in ballots, there's more room for error or more room to cheat.
That's what Jimmy Carter said years ago.
Cheat.
The mail-in balloting is fraught with fraud. But we have absentee balloting, and a lot of people are confused with the differences between the two. The absentee ballot, you order it.
You ask for it.
You identify who you are. We know who you are. You get the ballot. You vote. Where mail-in, it could just be thrown out to a whole bunch of people. Now we got unsecured drop boxes in every county now in North Dakota. How did that happen? How did that? People don't even know that's there now. And every county has it. And Michael Howe is out there now speaking out against our election integrity. He's the Secretary of State. He's using his office now against the people's initiative.
Wait a minute now. How can a political official be using their office to speak out against? There's a conflict here, and it doesn't sound real. It doesn't pass the smell test to me.
Well, it's clearly a violation of 16.1-10, and I've actually filed criminal charges in Ward County. It says here, North Dakota Secretary of State warns against proposed election integrity ballot initiative. And I didn't even notice in this article, they even put my name in the bottom of it. But he actually talks about when you hand count ballots, you have more error. Oh, it would be bad to take out these unsecured, on-camera drop boxes. What? I mean, he's making comments in here, and he's not the brightest guy on the. I can tell. But people of North Dakota have every right to petition whatever they want, and I think that's a good process. But I fail to see what's wrong about our election process here. So, Michael, you changed the election process here. Our process before the pandemic was perfect. You've changed that to where now we can't even ask to see the ballot, the paper ballots, once we've had an election. We don't know. We don't know if the machines are telling the truth or not. I'm not saying that they are, but guess what? We want transparency in our election. We want to make sure that no one can come into North Dakota. Look, we have an illegal problem everywhere in the country, including North Dakota. We have undocumented people here that, for some reason, they've got driver's licenses, and our Secretary of State is using the DOT for voter registration.
I can't believe that. That is,
it's true.
Transparency first.
The reason I know that, when we submitted this petition, we had a legislator who was a sponsor on this petition. That person is a realtor. They had sold their house, or they hadn't sold their house. They moved to their new house. They hadn't changed their DOT address. And the Secretary of State would not accept them as sponsors until their address matched their DOT address. So we know that for a fact that that's going on now.
So, first of all, transparency. That's the number one thing that we need. The voting machines, all of that, it does not provide transparency. And then the ability to validate. And you can get into the argument about a voter ID, or, it's kind of funny when I knew people out in Oregon, and you could walk in to the DOT in the state of Oregon with a piece of paper that said you voted in Mexico, and they would accept that as a form of ID so that people could get their driver's license.
Yeah.
That was their voter registration. That's
going on everywhere.
Somebody had their name written on a piece of paper. That was their voter registration. Yep. And the state of Oregon would accept that. I'm not saying North Dakota is that far down the road, but we're really not that far away.
How are these people getting driver's license in North Dakota? What, if you go and ask some of the liquor stores and ask them what they're seeing there, and they will tell you that they're seeing all kinds of papers saying that these people are who they are and how old they are. And they're accepting that even at the liquor stores. So, it's not hard to, and what's really funny is I talk to some of these people as much as you can talk to them, but they can't speak English. They all have Facebooks. So I get their Facebook. So I'm starting to accumulate a database of Facebooks of illegals, because that's how they communicate back home.
So, Charles, coming back to the Secretary of State's office, how do you fix that? How do you address this?
Well, I don't see him. He's going to have to recuse. That whole office is going to have to recuse themselves if we submit the number of signatures. And we're going to have to go to court, because it looks as though they're doing the same prank they did with the term limits. They're throwing signatures out for technicalities. And they fail to understand it isn't the petition circulator that's important here. It's the person who's able to sign the petition, a legitimate voter of North Dakota. That's the important person that's all a part of this process of qualifying a petition for a ballot.
Okay, a lot to digest there, Charles. As far as the petition, tell people where you're at on collecting signatures and what the ballot integrity means for those that may get confused between the absentee ballot and the mail-in ballots, and because we want to get rid of the mail-in ballots. Absentee ballot's not going to change because you ask for that. You request that.
Yes, correct. That's how military people vote. Yeah. This is the best election integrity initiative nationwide. And I'm hoping there's other states that are interested in looking at it. We've been with Mike Lindell and presented to them. This thing does everything that we had a great system in North Dakota before the pandemic, and these people who are wanting to control our elections. And it's a problem, and I don't know if we're going to get our elections back without it. This takes us back to paper ballots, hand counting. It gets rid of ranked choice voting. It does all of that stuff. It's a very, very extensive petition, and it does so much for the people. It even reduces the recall petitions from 25% to 10%. So it gives power back to the people. You'll see the establishment and government people opposing it because of that.
One ballot, one vote. And, Charles, I've said this, and I'm warming up to this idea more and more. I think we actually need to go back to one day for elections like it used to be and make that a federal holiday. And that's your one job that day. Your job is to go vote.
You hit the nail on the head. This is same-day voting. Now, Democrats don't like that. My dad used to always say, hey, Charles, I hope it rains on Election Day. Why is that? Because Democrats don't show up. Well, now we've given them 31 days to show up, and if they don't show up, we can even go and harvest the ballot from them and get them to have us fill it out for them. That's what's going on with this early voting stuff. This has nothing to do with people wanting to vote. If
Charles,
you can't vote in person, you absentee vote.
Charles, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us this morning.
All right, Steve. Thank you.
Charles Tuttle, this is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
With everything you have on your plate, earning your degree online seems impossible. But at Grand Canyon University, we specialize in helping you fit a master's degree in education into your busy day. Your graduation team, led by your own GCU counselor, provides you with the personal support you need to succeed. Achieve your goals with a plan and team behind you. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
To Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken. Joining us, Julie Shirato from Furry Friends Rock and Rescue. And what are things looking like right now, Julie?
Well, hello. I'd tell you, it just looks crazy.
By the way, I apologize. I forgot the wine this morning.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we are cutting this in the morning.
But
aren't
it is
we?
just you. So it's-
yeah, no Gene today.
yeah, if you and Gene get together, then I will always remember the wine.
There's just, wine just isn't right at 9 a.m. Yeah, you're
Well,
right.
Without Gene, it's not.
Yes, without Gene, it's not. That too.
So where are things at? Because we've had a fairly mild winter, just some cold snaps. You know, we had some snow events.
Yeah.
But everywhere I look, shelters are full.
Yeah, that one cold snap we had left a lot of dead bodies on the ground, dogs, cats, and so much frostbite, and then we were out trapping this past week down at Schmidt Bottom. Somebody dumped a pit bull, and it's one thing when you dump them in city limits. We have a shot at not a lot of vet bills when the impound picks them up, Mandan, Bismarck, or surrounding area, but when we have to go trap them because they're out of city limits and they're full of frostbite and wounds and infection, it's a lot of money, for rescues. And so I just, the cats were trying hard to go to colonies and grab and trap, neuter, release. So our goal is 100 in March to a lot of these colonies at area businesses around town where they start.
Talk about the colonies a little bit, because I don't think people, we've got a big feral cat population in the Bismarck Mandan area. And I don't think a lot of people realize the extent of that population that we have.
Yeah. And even where you and I are sitting right now, whether it's Kist, Lonesome Dove, we go in and we trap those cats and get them fixed. We tried, if it's just a few, relocate them. If it's kittens, we'll tame them up and adopt them out. If they're antisocial, feral, then, we try to find barns. But once you remove a colony, a new colony sets in. And it's, only... You can see it like at
There's
a Kist.
reason they're there, because it's a good space for them to thrive in.
It is, and mousing.
And food source and water source.
Yeah.
So if you take one out, one's going to move back in. How do you break that cycle?
Well, you don't when it's around here, because the businesses want them gone. But I think we did 21 at a business a couple miles north of Bismarck, and we took them all back, and they built warm enclosures for them. They put a little bit of food out and some water for them every other day. And so that colony will thrive. They'll keep all the other cats out, and they'll mouse in the shops and barns. So,
and this is a colony that's all been spayed and neutered.
You bet. 21 of them last weekend. And then we did we're working on a couple of area businesses over by Walmart down in South Bismarck, and then out here again too. So
That's just fascinating to me that we've got these populations of wild or semi-wild cats that
and how fast they grow.
People don't know about.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
And how fast they breed if they're not spayed or neutered.
Yeah, at 3 months old, your kittens are getting bred, and at 3 months old, their first litter, they can have 3 to 4 litters a year. Wow. Do that times 5, as that's the kind of common denominator between 4 and 7 kittens.
Problem exacerbates in a hurry.
Oh boy, it's crazy, terrible. And I think, oh my gosh, 100. We'll be just shy of 100 by the end of March here, but. Yeah, that's not even the tip of the iceberg, but yet we're still preventing thousands of cats next year. So, it's good. We just keep going. We help where we can. You're on a list when you call us, and when we can get to you. Some of the vets help us for free. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. And then some charge us. So it is what it is. If we can raise the money, it's $3,000 to $5,000 every time we TNR 20 to 50 cats just for the meds. And, labor, they usually cut us a deal, but a deal is a deal is a deal, we just keep going.
So when you're looking at the colony side of stuff and the only real solution then is not to relocate them, but to get them spayed and neutered and stop the breeding cycle within that colony and then keep the other colonies out because you want to keep that intact. So then it's you win by attrition.
You
basically
do.
Is what you do.
And that is fact. That is fact. From one side of the nation to the other, you remove a bunch of cats, you're going to get more in. And Edgewood and Mandan is a really good example too, because they're in a beautiful spot down by the river. Outskirts of town, lots of trees. We'll remove cats and trap them, but guess what? If we move them. And
right back in.
You bet. The clients over there love to feed them too. So it's a huge education. You're right. At some point, we're all going to have to sit down and go, do we just build some enclosures and have the 10 that are around there and fix them and leave them there and let people feed them? Or do we keep moving them and keep trapping them and keep looking for more barns?
Because that's a never-ending cycle.
Correct.
Okay, so when you do get a smaller number that you do remove instead of trying to manage that colony that's there, then what? I mean, because there's cats that are feral, there's cats that are social or can be socialized, there's ones that are not.
Oh, just downright mean. Yeah, they do. And
what does that process look like? Because, I talk about this all the time with different dogs and different breeds where they need a job. Cats are kind of the same way.
Yeah. They love to mouse, but you need to put out food in order to keep them where they're at.
Yeah, we're getting into the springtime, and don't tell Wendy, but I trapped a mouse in our house.
Yeah, and
week,
you're right.
and
it's that
time of the year.
Yeah, it's that time, man, going into fall. And,
so
we moved them from.
How does that process work?
Yeah.
So as far as people that need barn cats or shop cats,
reach out to us because they're free.
Yeah.
They're free. We'll take it on and do it. But you have to put out some straw. You have to have access to some straw or a barn. We have to put out a little water. And
that's
it's
my
a
question.
no-brainer. You got to put out a little cat food once in a while to keep them coming back.
You got to facilitate because they're not just going to live on just mice.
No, they'll move on to the next. Once they clear that territory, they move down the road to the next. And then.
Well, the one good news is the mice breed faster than cats do.
Yeah,
so.
But not fast
much.
enough to keep 5 to 10 cats in one barn, though. You're right. So it is. It's hard to think through it on the back end, but if you've got your little colony and they're all fixed, they're going to stay there. And you need to lock them in a barn for a couple days, feed them, give them water, straw, so they know where they're staying before you open the doors and let them wander. And they will come back. But you're right.
Because I think a lot of people go, okay, well, I got a barn cat or a shop cat, and it's just set it and forget it. And that's you can't do that because that's not how you're going to keep them there.
Much harder. And even at Edgewood, I noticed a year ago when we trapped and fixed some, and they took them way out of town, dropped them off, and a lot of them find their way back. Other cats in heat, they find their way back 10, 20 miles. So it's so important to keep them fixed. And yes, we do tip a ear and cauterize it. So then we know that that's a cat that we have previously worked with. We either release it from a trap if we catch it again, or people can monitor those colonies by those tipped ears. So that's very important. Very important.
So how do you tell the difference between a tipped ear and a frostbite ear?
Well, that's the tough one because I've had both those in the trap. You bet. Frostbite is awful. They'll lose that whole ear all the way down to the nub. A tip is, pretty straight cut, but you are right. That's a great question. Frostbite's everywhere.
We're talking with Julie Sherrato, Furry Friends Rock and Rescue. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Supertalk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bike along with Julie Sherrato from Furry Friends Rock and Rescue. And this time of the year, as weather starts getting a little bit nicer, we get into spring, you wind up seeing a few more dogs running around that maybe have made it through the winter or maybe have gotten away. Or, what are we looking at? Because everywhere I look, shelters are full, fosters are full. You guys are seeing a lot of different stuff.
When we've got a tenacious team of ladies that loves to go out and help trap too. So we help a lot of animal wardens. But you're right. The big problem is, what do we do with them?
Walk us through the trapping process, because I don't think we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah.
What does the process look like for whether you're trapping cats or trapping dogs? What does that look like going out and setting up the traps? Because there's a lot of work that goes in on the front side before you just set a trap out there.
You've got to have sightings. You've got to have paw prints in the snow. That's what we used last weekend. So we knew that pit bull was hanging out in that area and dropped food, and then we pulled it. And then, the big coyote traps don't always work because they scare the heck out of those dogs going in. And then a lot of times they're so freaked out they can bust out. So we have a big giant trap. We call a Missy trap after the retrievers out in Minnesota. And so we mocked up a version of that where it's 6 foot high, 9 to 10 feet long. The dog goes in and trips the waves, the solar waves.
Sounds like a bear trap.
It is. It's humongous.
Bears.
And you're right. You've got to lure them right in with trails of food. They go in. You have your plate there. They trip it. And then it's a giant magnet where the door will slam shut on the back end with bungee cords, a lot of bungee cords. So it's a neat trap, and it is game on with that trap. I don't know if we've ever missed a mark with it because it's large and the animals feel more confident going in there for the food.
So how does that work, making sure that you're getting the target animal? Because I can imagine raccoons, skunks. Is it one of those you open up the trap and go, what's in here?
I know. I've released a few raccoons in my days in my dress clothes. Hey, Julie, run out over your lunch and release a raccoon and set the trap again. But yeah, you're right. You've got to stock an animal for a little bit, know it's in that vicinity. You can't just set and go, oh, we think it's here. And then from there, you've got a scared dog. So I think the last one was like an 80-pound pit bull that someone dumped on the out of Mandan. And then you've got to tread lightly and tame up a dog. Let them know that you're here to care for it, and then find a heated garage to put it in because we have no more kennels at our shop. So it takes an army. And when everyone's full, you're like, what do you do with this dog? Because Mandan PD is full, Bismarck Impound is full, we're full, Central Dakota's full, Kitty City is full, we're all full. So it's constant trying to navigate. And anymore, it's hard to transport dogs out of state. Now we're to the point where we're trading dogs. Hey, I've got a Labradoodle. If you have a foster or adopter, I'll take your, golden retriever. I mean, we are trading out dogs now with other rescues, where we used to be, I can take 2 this week, or you can take 7 this week, or I'll take a litter of puppies this week. Now we're bantering, bartering, and trading out animals.
Well, that just shows how the issue is everywhere, because, we've talked in the past, I mean, kind of your service area, it could be anywhere, because, Texas or Michigan or Ohio or Colorado, rescues are working with each other from a lot farther away because of the lack of capacity, and just trying to find homes that are good fits, because I talk about that all the time. It's like dogs need a job, and it's got to be the right fit for the right family. In a foster position, how much time are you spending now on kind of trying that right fit for the right home, where in the past it's like, oh, okay.
You could move them faster.
You could move them, and now it's like you're bartering with different fosters going, hey, we'll take the 2 labs if you take the 2 cattle dogs.
And it's amazing how color plays a factor too. Some of our best hunting dogs are black. Hardly anyone wants black. Some of our nicest dogs are black. And it's a known fact. Your nicest cats are black. And so we giggle because if you're a foster and you're a diehard, you'll take the black ones over the white ones, the pretty white ones, because you're getting the nicest dog, which is kind of funny. But, we send our Dobermans out to the Doberman rescue. We send our Huskies to the Husky rescue. We're even sending some of our retrievers and whatnot out to Wisconsin because we're starting to look and navigate farther out than Minneapolis or Bozeman, Montana. So it's gotten crazy.
Talk about that a little bit because, a lot of different breed specific, have different rescues out there. So they help facilitate. I'm a Gordon Setter person. There's a big Gordon Setter rescue that I help with. There's lab rescues. There's golden retriever rescues.
Yeah.
Especially on the hunting dog side.
But they're full.
They're full too. But they work with their specific breed. So and I show my dog. So Gordon Setter Club of America, there's a big Gordon Setter Club rescue. So you help facilitate, and even mixed breeds, mixes with your breed. They'll help facilitate some of that too. But okay, those are breed specific. What about everybody else? Because there's a lot of Heinz 57.
And the guy down the street
falling through the cracks.
Yeah, the guy down the street with the purebred boxer is going to think it's cool mixing it with a lab. So guess who's not going to take that, even if it does kind of look. Well, I've got one at my house right now that's got a semi-boxer face, but the rest of her is Labrador. Well, the boxer rescue won't take her. She needs to be a boxer, a purebred. So you're right. It just in every aspect of rescue, it's gotten so much more difficult. So I'm going to guess, and we talked about it last night, I'm going to guess euthanizing is going to start really entering our vocabulary more. Not that we don't euthanize enough because we get the run over ones, or I'm standing at the vet and I can't afford this dog. Will you take it? Help me with the bills, or should I euthanize it? Well, I even need the money to euthanize. I mean, it's amazing what we get asked of every day. So I'm going to guess a lot more rescues and shelters up in our neck of the woods that never had to euthanize will start here in the next year.
Well, and it's a bad position because a lot of shelters try to be no-kill shelters.
You bet. We all do.
And now they're being put into a very bad position at some place that they don't want to go. But the practicality of the matter is it might be a necessity.
Yep.
To some degree.
You bet. The longest one there.
Yeah.
Is the one you stare at and go, or the oldest dog and say, well, has it had a good enough life? What do we do now? We need to make room for some of these others that.
And that's sad because some of the coolest stories are, I'll read online or I'll hear a story about a dog that has been in foster or in a shelter for 18 months or 2 years and then finally find their forever home. And you talk to somebody and it's the best dog they've ever had.
Yeah, network. And as much as I hate Facebook, it's been a godsend for us, so I can't complain. That's how we market, And then along with you guys, radio, television, you name it. You've got to just get out there and plead your case, and hopefully you'll touch on one or two people that can help you. So I thank you.
When you're looking at different scenarios, how do people contact you? Is it the social media is the easiest way?
Yeah, that's the best. You bet. You ffrrinc@gmail.com, freefriendsrockandrescue.org, bug you know where to find me, you name it. But yeah, social media is probably the easiest. To email us, I mean, they fly, and we're volunteer driven. So, when we get off work at night, someone's sitting down going over Facebook posts, someone's going over emails. And
if you have an opportunity to volunteer, please do so. If you have an opportunity to foster, and a lot of different scenarios you can help out. And then supplies, of course, you guys
bleach,
can always,
laundry, soap. Oh my gosh, you name it. We need it.
Best spay and neuter.
Yeah,
that's always
best advice.
Yeah, Julie Sherrato with Furry Friends Rock and Rescue. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Working for tips, Uncle Sam wants his cut. I'm Daria Albinger with today's tax tip. Whether you're a bartender, a server, or a hairdresser, if you make tips, you must report that income to the IRS. And while it's tempting to just pocket that cash, ABC's business correspondent Alexis Christoforos says that's not a good idea.
There are some major potential consequences here. One of them is the IRS may audit your tax return if they suspect you're not reporting your tips. You also want to make sure you're reporting to your employer how much you're earning in tips every month so that your boss can pay the correct amount they contribute to your Social Security and Medicare taxes.
And beyond cheating the IRS, Christoforos says by not reporting your tip income, you may be shortchanging yourself.
Although your employer is responsible for paying a share of your Social Security taxes on reported tips, they're not responsible for underreported tip income. Therefore, you're not going to receive as much Social Security as you would have otherwise been due.
With today's tax tip, I'm Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Fiala works it down the right side, played in by Erickson. Elba to the bench for the extra attacker. A minute to play here in the hockey game. Little centering pass in front. Bouncing puck, they score! Zuccarello knocked it ahead. Kaprizov was there. We'll see who gets credit. But with 57.7 seconds to go, the Wild have come up off the deck and tied the hockey game 5-5.
Minnesota Wild Hockey on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
KLXX Mandan Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
VA's Home Loan Guarantee made home buying a seamless, easy process. I closed in 30 days with no down payment.
Get what you earned. Visit choose.va.gov. Not all veterans are eligible for the type or amount of benefits mentioned here.